Is there any type of Cowboys optimism that you could give us right now, Kelsey? Because I feel like generally this has been a downer of an offseason, at least from a narrative standpoint. Everybody's just like, what is going on? Talent is leaving the building. We're not seeing that talent replaced very much. And so do you have positivity to bring us here, or are you kind of in the same boat? Like, this has been a bummer.
Yeah. I think if I had to try and go glass half full for you guys, I think I would have to say when you reach the bottom, it can only go up from here. I mean, that's
the best you got for us?
The offseason
can't get any
we're
worse.
at the bottom of it.
Can't get any worse, guys.
Can't get any worse.
I mean, it could. Do not take that to fruition. I mean, honestly, though, I think the thing that you have to think about is that, you either have to trust this front office. I'm not going to say like that they're going to make the team 100% better than it was last year, this time of year. But I feel like at the very least, what they've been doing in free agency, if you're following the money, is putting themselves in positions where they obviously have draft needs, but they're not desperate, right? Where they have, sufficient players at each position to go out and put onto the field come day one if they had to. Am I going to sit here and tell you that this wide receiver core is better than it was last year? No, I'm not going to do that. And I really hope that's the position that they address. Do I think that a rookie draft pick is going to come in and be as impactful as, a tenured vet who has shown they can produce at the level that a guy like Amari Cooper has? No, but also at the same time, we have to take into consideration that last season, quite frankly, like he didn't give this team, I think, the breadth of what they're looking for in terms of production. I think that this offense, in their minds or in the minds of many, you guys called for Kellen Moore all the time. Whatever you want to point the finger at, it was stale. And we need more from the level of talent that this team had on the field. It was shocking to many of us that it was a defense carrying the team. When have we been able to say that as Cowboys fans in the last, I don't know, ever? And so I definitely think that there are things to look forward to. I think you have a lot of excitement around having this defense come back. Dan Quinn in the building. Who knows what the future holds? I really do hope that they take these draft needs seriously, and I really want an O-lineman.
Yes, O-line I think is huge. That's where most of us, at least when it comes to this show, Walchuk and myself, it's like, man, the offensive line, when that thing kind of fell apart, you couldn't run the ball,
right?
And then Dak's not protected the way that he's used to being protected. The offense sort of just caves in on itself. But you mentioned the wide receiver spot. What's your confidence meter, Kelsey Charles, in CeeDee Lamb being that number one wide receiver?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that I wasn't at the point where I was like, hey, like, let him run. But at the same time, like, listen, there's people that get paid to do this, and it's above my pay grade, right? Like, that's why they're in the roles that they're in. I think you look at the guy like James Washington, where historically he took a lot of reps in that slot position, right? So I think this officially frees up CeeDee, where the narrative was for a long time, okay, well, you've got, Amari, then you've got Gallup, and then you got CeeDee in the slot. Well, now this is the time where you're like, all right, CeeDee, like 88, like it's time. Like we're going to go ahead and transition up. You are the X, right? And I mean, a lot can happen in an offseason. I think that he's shown a lot of growth. I think he obviously has some areas to continue to develop in. But I think that, if he and Dak continue to form some chemistry, I think they can do some really special things. Again, when you have a guy like Dalton Schultz who's going to be a complement in that receiving group as well, I think that's helpful. But I really do think that in order for him to be as productive, CeeDee, when I say that, as we'd love him to be, you're going to have to bolster that wide receiver core with someone that poses a threat that opposing defenses can't ignore. And right now, I don't think you have that. And I think that he's going to be one of the main targets, and if not the sole target, that people are like, okay, eliminate him, and then they just have a bunch of Jags, just another group of guys, right? And so I think that has to be addressed and taken very seriously.
Kelsey Charles from DallasCowboys.com and Blogging the Boys. So what's your confidence meter right now? Because I know a lot of people are split on this right now. In fact, I would say a majority of the fan base right now is very pessimistic on Dak. So where do you fall down on Dak? What do you want to see him work on this offseason? What do you want to see different from what happened in the second half of the season?
I mean, I think it's tough.
You're a Dak believer.
I am
right?
a Dak believer.
Yeah.
I think that Dak really does bring, and again, I will go ahead and caveat this. One of my weaknesses, my Achilles heel, is I love a guy that really brings the character element to the locker room, brings that leadership, and I think it's undeniable that Dak Prescott does just that, right? So already off the bat, he gets a lot of credibility in my mind for being that element that is just so needed to be able to gel a locker room together, especially when they're going through all these transitions that they've gone through in recent years, right? But for me, I really need him to step up and play to the value that was being paid to him. When you are, and again, he can't help that the market is set at what it's set at, and he was paid what he was paid. But when you're in that position where you sign that contract and you ink that deal, it now becomes valid and credible to be able to put games on your shoulders. You have to be able to make the play. You have to be able to carry the team. And I think there were times last season where he wasn't able to fully do that for whatever reason. I don't know if it was a confidence factor in terms of, mental aspect of the game where he's just thinking about the, tragic injury that he incurred the season before, and that just kind of got to him at times, or whatever it was. But I think we need a decent amount more from him, quite honestly, and he needs to finish games, and we need to finish the season strong. You cannot let momentum like this team had putter out like it did. It feels like a waste of talent, and it's frustrating to be at the end of the season where, again, I've said this before time and time again, you felt like you had enough pieces to at least make a solid run for it. You really did. Like, sure, you didn't go full Rams and just like buy everyone and write blank checks and just, quote, whatever you want to call it, mortgage your future. But at the same time, you really did have a viable player at 99% of the positions, especially in the salary cap era. And I just feel like it's frustrating to, not have done something more with that. And I do think when you are a franchise quarterback, a decent part of that ultimately falls on you.